We're also tracking a major business breakup just 10 years after a merger between Kraft and Heinz. The company now wants to split in two. It's a breakup indeed. At the time, the Kraft Heinz merger was valued at $46 billion. It made the company one of the biggest in the world. Wall Street Journal reporter Jesse Newman is live with us now from Chicago. So, Jesse, why the Kraft Heinz split?
Hi there. Well, the company says that they want to be more focused, be able to focus more on their brands. They've got close to 200 brands across 55 categories, 150 countries, and that's gotten pretty complex. And so they say that they will be able to better focus and have better performance for their brands if they are split into two companies, one which is largely focused on, I would say it's condiments heavy, it's sauces and spreads and seasonings, and another which is essentially the North American grocery business. So one is going to house a lot of Kraft brands. The other will have a lot of Heinz brands.
Yeah, that video is making me crave crinkle cut fries, for better or for worse. You say complex, but you also write this could be complicated. Why is that?
Yeah, it's a massive organization with a lot of brands in a lot of different places. They have an overarching operating framework that is going and partnerships with the likes of Google and Microsoft, that the company is going to have to disentangle. So, it's gonna take a while.
All right, so, we've seen here on CBS News 24/7 stories of massive businesses splitting or reorganizing or restructuring. Do you think this is a pattern that we're going to see more of as pressure increases to satisfy shareholders?
We already are seeing more of it in the food business. So in 2022, Kellogg announced that it was going to split. It wound up splitting into two companies. Its North American cereal business and a snacking business, Kellanova and WK Kellogg. Just recently we had the news about Keurig Dr. Pepper. So it does seem to be in vogue in the food and beverage industry as these companies are going through a pretty tumultuous time to figure out to figure out their way and how to bring value.
All right, and the most important question for you, as so many people on the East Coast sit down for lunch, ketchup or mustard on your hot dog?
I'm a mustard girl.
All right, good for you. Mustard girl all the way. Thank you, Jesse Newman. Nice to talk to you. You have a great day. We appreciate you.
All right, so I'm not craving either, by the way, and it is complicated, but I didn't go all out and make this huge breakdown on this. But I do want to show you just some connections I thought of right away, right when I saw this story. So you see right here, Kraft Heinz undoes blockbuster merger after a decade of changing tastes. Splitting into two companies after a decade after a merger of the brands created one of the biggest food manufacturers on the planet. One of the companies, currently called Global Taste Elevation Co., will include brands such as Heinz, Philadelphia Cream Cheese, and Kraft Mac and Cheese. Kraft Heinz said Tuesday the other, currently called North American Grocery Company, will include slower selling brands like Maxwell House, Oscar Mayer, Kraft Singles, and Lunchables. The official names of the two companies will be released later. Kraft Heinz said in May that it was conducting a strategic review of the company, signaling a potential split. It expects the transaction to close in the second half of 2026. So, and you see again right there, Kraft Heinz Company, commonly known as Kraft Heinz. Oh, I guess you could see all the... Oh, no, you can't see those tabs. But and they're co-headquartered in Chicago and Pittsburgh. I always thought that was interesting. was interesting because look, it says co-headquartered in Chicago and Pittsburgh. Wow, that hits huge. Because when I think of Heinz, I think of Heinz Ward. And it's spelt differently. And look, he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You see that right there? Heinz Ward played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You see that? And with this merger, again, co-headquartered in Chicago and Pittsburgh. That Chicago connection's huge with all the Michael Jordan energy because, look, I just barely entered this right now. Look, the Kraft Heinz company, look, 238 right there in ordinal. And you get 238 just like Michael Jordan. And remember, Leroy Jordan just died the other day. So, again, I just quickly entered a few numbers right here. They say one of the companies will be Global Taste Elevation Co. That's how they listed it right there. I guess short for company. Look, you get that 125 right there. And that's one of the companies, I guess, that it's going to merge. Or that's one of the two companies. And they're going to be renamed later. I don't know. It's complicated. But look at that 125 right there. And you see we had a bunch of 125. Sabrina with Sabrina Carpenter. Her new album, Sabrina's got 125. Cardi B trending 125. Even Bodak Yellow, her hit song 125. Tim Riggins 125. Just to name a few right there. But back over here. Okay, so notice that name Kraft. I think that's right when I saw this story, I was working on the Bill Belichick story. And I'm like, wow, now Kraft Heinz is trending. And I just showed you Heinz Ward with that Pittsburgh connection. Football player. Bill Belichick connected to football, coach at North Carolina. But remember, he was the coach of the New England Patriots. And look, Robert Kraft is the owner. Robert Kraft and Belichick are the owner and former head coach of the Patriots. So I think that's interesting that Bill Belichick's trending. And now we get this Kraft Heinz story. And remember, they were, the Patriots became the greatest franchise ever right after 9/11 hit. And there's all that 9/11 energy right now as we're coming up on the anniversary, right? So now we get Kraft Heinz. We get Belichick hitting with the college season. We have the NFL season that's about to kick off. And I think the first game is on 9/5, September 5. And the Kraft Heinz company, you get 95 right there. Even Michael Jordan equals 59 with that, just like the 5th day of the 9th month right there. And if you remember, co-headquartered in Chicago and Pittsburgh. Remember, Michael Jordan put the Chicago Bulls on the map, didn't he? So we get this Robert Kraft connection now with Bill Belichick. And you see Bill Belichick trending as they got smashed by TCU. Trying to remember the score. It was like 48-14 or something like that. But anyways, you can go check out that video. And apparently Robert Kraft apparently has no connection with this Kraft company. Because, look, I can go over here. I thought I put the slide in here. Is Robert Kraft affiliated with the Kraft Heinz company? No, not affiliated with Kraft Heinz. The common last name is the only connection. You see that right there? So isn't that something, right? And you see, can you believe that the Patriots even had a head coach that was named Jared Mayo? And look, Kraft makes mayo. Isn't that stupid right there? Oh, and there it is. No, Robert Kraft is not part of the Kraft group that owns Kraft Heinz. Isn't that... Look, this is how you know everything is on the language. Do you understand? Kraft is not affiliated with the Kraft group. There's so many names affiliated here with Kraft Heinz. It's very confusing. But no, Robert Kraft is not part of the Kraft group that owns Kraft Heinz. Look at that right there. But how does he own the Patriots? And the Patriots had a coach named Jared Mayo. Because everything is with the language. This is how they're getting their positions. The world is fake. If these are real names, it's a fake world, man. Okay, and I just put that in there to symbolize the split. Look at all of these damn names that they're giving us affiliated with these companies. And Kraft Foods Group Inc. no longer exists as an independent company. In 2015, it merged with H.J. Heinz Company to form the Kraft Heinz Company. And, now these companies are splitting. Okay. So look there's a Donald Trump connection. And I thought I put Drake May in here. Drake May. Like Mayo. Look at that right there. Quarterback for the New England Patriot. Look, you even get May. So you get Drake May, which is kind of like Mayo. And then you get the Kraft connection. So all of this stuff is with all of this stuff is just connected by the language. And there's a Donald Trump connection to Heinz. Can you believe it? And shout out to Richard West, man. Richard West. I just saw trending Donald Trump addresses some kind of health issues. I mean, Richard West has, been lining this up with Trump. We'll see what happens. I still say, are we going to get the biggest news next from Michael Jordan or Donald Trump? Because those are top tier characters, and both of them are trending and syncing up with every story right now. So we'll see what happens with Trump. But look at this. Johannes Trump's sister, Charlotte Louisa, married Johann George Heinz. And these are the closest pictures I could find. It's rather confusing when you Google it. But this is what popped up. I mean, if is that a female on the left? Supposedly. But Johannes Trump's sister, Charlotte Louisa, married Johann George Heinz. Their son, Johann Heinrich, John Henry Heinz. Look at all the Johns. And you have Donald John Trump. You have Charlotte up there. And Michael Jordan owned the Charlotte team in the NBA, right? What the hell are they? The Hornets? Are they the Hornets again? Look at that. You get Charlotte up there. And, you get John, Johann, Johannes, Donald, John Trump. Look at these names. But anyways, who emigrated to the United States in 1840, was the father of Henry J. Heinz, founder of the Heinz Company, and Donald Trump's second cousin, twice removed. What the hell does that mean? I didn't even go out of my way I was doing research and it popped up. Oh, Trump has a connection with the Heinz family. I'm like, oh, what are the odds? So those are just a couple of pictures there. I think it's Charlotte Louisa and Johann George Heinz. But anyways, Trump related to the Heinz family, apparently. Okay? So that's really it.
Meantime, breaking news, Kraft Heinz announcing it plans to separate into two companies. The names of the companies will be determined at a later date, but one, which it refers to as Global Taste Elevation, will include brands like Heinz, Philadelphia cream cheese, Kraft mac and cheese, that's obviously the favorite, and other shelf-stable meals. And then the other company is going to be called, or at least temporarily, North American Grocery, not nearly as exciting, which is going to include brands like Oscar Mayer, Kraft Singles, and Lunchables. It expects the deal to close in the second half of next year. And that stock moving not so much on the back of that news.
Only 609. We're uncomfortable with.
I don't mess with any of that stuff, but we did just have Labor Day, huh? Right? We did just have Labor Day. We're at Labor Day, though, and, you know, people might have been having burgers and hot dogs. Look, you get one eye symbolism with the mustard. See that right there? But isn't that interesting? We just had Labor Day, and we get this Kraft Heinz. Some relish. I can dig some relish, maybe. But if I'm messing with any of this stuff, it would probably be the mustard and the relish. You know, that is interesting, right? You think Labor Day, you think hamburgers, maybe hot dogs. You know what I mean? So that's something right there. And this article comes one day after Labor Day. It says right there. Yeah, so that's really it. You know, I had to bring up the Robert Kraft connection with the Patriots, Bill Belichick trending. All of that energy is just repeating with the pattern because we have 9/11 coming up, which we're seeing a lot of that energy in a lot of these decodes, okay? So we have the 24th anniversary, 9 days away from me speaking right now. So you see how that works? So you're going to get, remember Tom Brady just had that statue? Oh, I guess you're not seeing any of that. Tom Brady had the statue, right? It kind of kicked off with that. Now we have the college football season with Bill Belichick trending, right? And look, he coaches North Carolina football, and Michael Jordan played North Carolina basketball. And that's Jordan right there, his girlfriend right there. You see that? I mean, come on, right? And they lost. The other team scored 48 points. Look at Michael Jordan's birthday, the 48th day of the year. And his girlfriend's name is Jordan. And Leroy Jordan died the other day. Come on, man. But, you know, you're going to get these stories recycled with these characters right around this time, right? Belichick, Kraft, Tom Brady with the statue. Now the NFL season's about to kick off. You know, Kraft, Heinz. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, not really a lot of numbers with this one. The article date, the 245th day of the year, leaving 120. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and keep it at the kind of like the eye level, you know, surface level stuff with this one. Jared Mayo, come on, man. Drake May. I don't know if Jared Mayo has a job anymore. He might be a free agent head coach. I don't know if he landed anywhere. But yeah, fake world. That Heinz Ward connection hit pretty nice. Remember, it says Kraft Heinz headquartered in Pittsburgh and Chicago, like co-headquartered or whatever. Heinz Ward, a member of Pittsburgh when he played. See that right there? So yeah, that's it. Kraft Heinz undoes blockbuster merger after a decade of changing tastes. Okay, until next time. Peace.